The worst and weirdest Epstein files. Shout out Dr. G, man.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be doing a forensic analysis of the worst of the Epstein files. Before we get started, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure
This picture is insane.
you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These
What
are
is
just
on
my
my
opinions.
screen?
In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. Recently, several 100,000 Epstein files were released, but there's still probably millions more to come. What we're going to be doing today is analyzing the worst and the weirdest
Millions more is fucking insane, bro.
that I've found. Now, as you may already know, there is a lot that has been redacted. When I say a lot, I mean thousands, tens of thousands of pictures and so forth have been redacted. Just page after page after page with pure redaction. So the whole page will just be a big black square. No idea what's on those pages. If it's protecting the victims, I'm glad they're redacting it all. If they're protecting other people,
It's not protecting the victims, bro. Let's actually be so for real right now. Yo, I'll call you right back. Shut up, Big Kyle. No, it's not to protect the victims or anything. They don't care about the victims. Let's keep it 1 million. Let's keep it a bean.
obviously,
It's to protect it. You know, come on.
that would be an
Come on,
overreaction.
man.
Hopefully, that's not the case. Now, part of working on forensic cases is going through thousands and thousands of pages sometimes of text messages, Facebook posts, you name it. We'll have to do it. And so this is pretty familiar territory to me, just looking through huge volumes and seeing what stands out. So I've gone through and pulled out what stands out to me. A big part of forensic psychology is being able to really understand somebody, understand what their motives are, understand what drives them, why they make the choices we do. Because every choice we make, there's some determining factor. There's a reason we make our choices. And now that I've read through so much of this, I think I really understand Jeffrey Epstein. So I'm going to take a minute to explain him, to explain Ghislaine Maxwell, and then we'll start looking at the actual pictures. But I think being able to understand them before we look at the pictures will help color them and will help you better understand what we're looking at. To really be able to understand all of these pictures and all,
Bro, come on, bro. What? Like, what is this outfit, bruh? He got, is those Marine Corps pants with some, man.
of the documents, you
Bro, look at his face, bro. He just looks evil.
really need to understand who Jeffrey Epstein is and
Weirdo.
what motivates and what drives him. Now, obviously, this is someone who likes power. He likes being around famous people. But more than anything else,
Facts.
he is driven by massage and fantasies around massage. Not the actual massage itself, but sexual fantasies that he ties in together with the massages. Now, when you look at what the victims have described, when you hear what they have to say, this is someone who has very unusual sexual behavior around massage. So this is some sort of fantasy world that he's created. What he desperately wants is to be wanted. He wants these adolescents and these young women to want him. So he creates situations where he's hoping that they will do things voluntarily. They will do things on their own, which of course they're not going to. These are just ridiculous fantasies that he has. He doesn't seem to understand social dynamics very well. He doesn't really understand other people very well, but he's very wealthy, which plays very well into that. Now, here's where Ghislaine Maxwell comes in. She understands Jeffrey Epstein. She knows who he is and what he wants, and she is the one who tries to make the fantasies happen. She tries to find people that she thinks will fulfill them.
I've always wondered with her, like, she came from such a powerful, like, family. Why would you, like, she had the life. Like, why would you throw that away? I mean, her dad's reputation definitely got soured, but, like, after he died with all the things that came out, allegations and all that, like, her last name, like, the reputation went bad, but it's like, are you this willing to be rich? Like, that's insane. Like, you're willing to throw away your entire life for this guy.
Role for him. She gives them direction. She tells them what
Insane.
to do. She asks them to write letters and to write thank you notes and all of these things. That's all guided by her because she basically is trying to provide him with the fantasy that he so desperately wants. I think the dynamic between them is very much actually like parent and child. I think that at his core, Jeffrey Epstein is totally stuck in adolescence or maybe even younger. And Ghislaine Maxwell very much is opportunistic. She very much saw this opportunity. She's taking control. She's trying to provide with him, trying to curate fantasies for him. And so she very much is in absolute control of everything that these victims do. So this incredibly perverse, bizarre, and awful dynamic between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is at the core of what we're seeing here. And I cannot overstate how obsessed Jeffrey Epstein is with massage. His entire life is hyper-focused around massage and these strange sexual behaviors. So on the one hand, you have a rich, powerful, likely psychopathic, immature man. And then you have a woman who wants to help indulge him in whatever it is that he wants, tries to create a fantasy world for him because he lives in a fantasy world. Now, in terms of how these pictures are organized, we're going to be looking at some that were actually released on December 13th. The vast majority were released on December 19th. But some of them from the 13th were so interesting that I had to include them in here as well. Now, this picture right here was from the dump on the 19th. Massage for Dummies. Now, this is far more significant than you would think, because I want you to consider this is someone whose life is obsessed with massage. He has massage tables, dozens of massage tables in his house. They are everywhere. He has whole massage rooms. He is obsessed with massage. He has everybody hired for massage.
Bro, I've never even had a massage before. Like, in my entire life.
So if you have somebody like that is obsessed with massage, why would they have a Massage for Dummies book? It's because he doesn't hire people for massage. He hires people because he lives in a fantasy world and he fetishizes some behaviors around massage. He has some bizarre fantasy that he insists gets played out. So this shows you everything you need.
It's so weird
to know. This is not someone who is looking for massages. This is someone who is spending the vast majority of his mental energy trying to figure out how to live out these very specific fantasies. But part of fulfilling that fantasy is that somebody maybe has a vague idea of what they're doing massage-wise. So obviously he's not going around and hiring massage therapists for the vast majority of this. I know some people were professional massage therapists, but the vast majority were not. So this tells you everything you need to know about what a perverse guy Jeffrey Epstein is and how hyper-focused and how hyper-obsessed he was with the fantasy around massage, not the massage themselves. Now, this photo looks pretty benign on the surface, but is incredibly strange. Now, if you look on the left, you'll see that there are some words phonetically written out. Bayu, bayushki, bayu. This is a Russian lullaby. But basically, the two lines of the song that he has say something to the effect of like, hush, don't lay close to the edge. It's basically an old lullaby that's a cautious tale of if you sleep on the edge of the bed, a gray wolf can snatch you and take you away.
What? Why would he have that written?
But if you have an old American saying this to an adolescent Russian, I would take that as some sort of threat, as some sort of caution. Hey, watch yourself. Yeah. At least that's how I would read it. So to me, this is incredibly creepy. I don't know who he said it to, but the fact that those were the two lines that he wrote out phonetically to make sure he said it right.
Yeah, like he wrote it down, probably rehearsed it so that he could say it to like a Russian kid. Like that's actually this picture is pretty that's actually disturbing.
I think is incredibly chilling and incredibly unfortunate for whoever was the recipient of this message. Now, as far as this release of the Epstein files, which some people have described as only about 10%, there's really not much about President Trump in there. There's a couple of pictures like,
why is there just an Apple sticker
like this? But there's very little that actually references Trump in this dump of the Epstein files. Now, this picture right here, this is very consistent with the emails that he would send. He did not like President Trump. I know they were friends at one point, but by the time Trump became president, it seemed very clear that Jeffrey Epstein did not like Trump, that he made fun of him, that he thought he was ridiculous. That's further demonstrated by these novelty condoms that he had. And as you can see, it says condom $4.50, which would be $45. Obviously, he was the 45th president. So clearly this would have been after Trump became president. Now,
corny, that shit is corny as hell, bro.
Here's Jeffrey Epstein with Woody Allen. Looks like it's on the set of a movie or something like that.
Hey, yo. Hey, I know about Woody Allen. He's a weirdo. Bro, this picture, bro. Nah, they a match made in heaven, that's for sure. That's for damn sure.
And that's how close they were. Woody Allen would be the kind of guy who would invite Jeffrey Epstein to hang out on the set of his movie. They were extremely close. They spent a lot of time together. He's the kind of guy that the House Oversight Committee should probably have some questions for. Steve Bannon is someone else that also seemed to be quite close to Jeffrey Epstein. That's not a secret.
Whoa. Bro, what are these pictures? Bro, what the fuck? Just in his office? This one is, bro, what is that?
He's come out and they talked about the fact that he did some 15-hour long interview with him. So they are known to associate. Now, what's interesting about this picture is if you look in the background here, there's a photograph of what appears to be a woman passed out on a couch. Maybe
I don't know if that's a woman.
she's awake, but it's a very strange position. Obviously, her face rightly is blurred out. But Epstein likes this picture so much, we're actually going to see it again later. He has it hanging up in a different room in his house. So he feels very proud of this picture for whatever reason. So here's a picture of Jeffrey Epstein, Richard Branson, and the creator of the Segway. Now, one thing that we can say in terms of body language is that all of them have very genuine smiles. If you look
Creator of the Segway.
at Epstein, for example, the way that his eyes are wrinkled next to his smile.
Like the thing that you drive? Yep, that's him. That's insane.
Whatever it is they're talking about, they all actually feel joy. They all actually feel happy about this. Now, I zoomed in on this piece of paper because I was kind of curious what it said since he was showing it off.
Okay, I see you, Dr. G. Okay.
And basically, I cleaned it up a little bit. It's still hard to read. But
The hell does
basically,
that
it's
even say?
calculating out some business idea. $400,000 times 30,000 people or something like that equals $1.2 billion. It looks like there's some kind of math.
Yeah, he's talking about right here. 30,000 people. What could they possibly be talking about?
Some kind of product or some kind of idea that they were talking about, but it's all dollar calculations that they're all laughing and talking about for whatever reason. But they all seem to be enjoying each other's company, that's for sure. Now, here's a picture of Epstein and President Trump. This was actually from the December 13th document dump. And you can tell this is a pretty old picture. President Trump looks a bit younger, but you can tell at this point they looked like they were close friends. They're standing very close to each other. I know it's in an enclosed space, but you tend not to be willing to stand this close to somebody that you dislike. So at this point, I think they were
Right.
still probably getting along quite well. Now, if you look at that picture on the left, that's Bill Gates in an airplane.
Bro, what is this picture? What are these pictures, bro? Bro, this picture is so like, that shit's fried, bro. Why is he like sitting like that? That is not a good picture, bro.
presume that's Jeffrey Epstein's airplane.
It's just in your house.
But if we go down, this is a much more interesting picture of Bill Gates. Now, this obviously is Bill Gates many, many years later. He was relatively young in that last picture we saw. And this is where body language comes in because this picture fascinates me. And it puzzles me why, when this was released, they didn't release the full picture, which I'm actually going to show you because it's much more interesting. Anybody can look at Prince Andrew in that picture and tell that he has tension in his face as he's looking at Bill Gates.
Oh yeah, for sure. Look at his eyes. His eyes, they're telling a complete story. He looks like he's in complete control of this situation. He looks pretty confident. I mean, yeah, like his whole body posture. He looks pretty awkward here.
This was the one that was released by the House Oversight Committee. I'm going to show you what the full picture looks like. This is the actual picture. And the body language in this is fascinating.
Who's that?
So you can see Bill Gates just standing normally, body open, arms down, looks totally normal in that picture. Now, Prince Andrew, on the other hand, looks very defensive. His chin is tucked down. We do that to protect our neck. He's got his hand up and almost in a protective way in front of King Charles. So why Prince Andrew was so fearful at that time, I don't know. But clearly, King Charles looks totally normal in that picture. Just a very normal picture of somebody interacting with somebody else. But Prince Andrew is so tense. I don't know if he was afraid that somehow he would mention how they met each other or somehow that he was fearful that Epstein would come up in some way. But man, Prince Andrew is dialed in and he's very uncomfortable right there. Do you ever watch a trial on the news and then later find out there was a huge piece of the story that you didn't hear about? As a forensic psychologist, comment, or scan this QR code. Again, it's ground.news/Dr. G. Let's get back to the analysis. Now, the last picture before we get to the most current document dump is a picture of Bill Clinton. He is going to be a theme that comes up over.
Bro, why they take this picture like it's like some album, some like R&B cover or something, bro? Like, y'all are not them, bro. Like, bro, all BS aside, like, you know, I get he was a president, this, that, and the other, but it's like, I'm looking at these people, it's just like, just some losers, bro. Some weirdos, bro. Especially, like, man, I don't know these two. They might be good people. I don't know, but yeah.
And over again throughout this.
Evil, bro.
Because I think Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton were very close friends. Now, Bill Clinton has said, or his representatives have said since then, he only knew him before any of these charges. He never consorted with him afterwards, but we know that's not true based on emails that have been released. They continue to stay in contact, and he wanted to stay in contact well after his initial conviction. Now we're going to look at some pictures inside of Epstein's house. I'm going to provide some commentary based on these various pictures, but I want you to keep in mind something I'm not going to show because there's just no point, but is important for you to understand, is that so many of his walls are just covered in pictures of naked people, mostly naked women, but not entirely. But his entire walls are covered with photographs of various people and various forms of undress. And to me, that just, he's trying to create a sexually charged.
Do you not have your parents over ever? Or, like, bro, just, I don't know. I don't know.
Atmosphere. That's the goal there. He's hoping that other people know who he is and understand him without him having to say anything. So that's the point of that. Keep in mind,
he's trying to set the tone so as soon as anyone comes in, they know what they're getting into. He don't even got to say nothing.
The way that we express ourselves in our environment is a representation of who we are psychologically. That's true of anybody. I've said this on other videos. Someone who's disorganized inside, your environment's going to be disorganized. If you're someone who's very controlled, you're going to have a very clean environment. So keep in mind, the goal of having all those pictures is to groom. It is not because he just loves the human form so much that he wants to have all of this art to look at it. The goal of it is for people to understand who he is. Now, that doesn't mean that people can't have pictures with nudity and stuff like that, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're perverse, but he is. So understand that's why he has it. That doesn't mean that's why everybody would have it. But when you look at everything added together, it really makes sense why he keeps so much of that kind of material around his house. Now, the reason I'm showing this picture, if you see this cord right here dangling, you can see the connection. Well, you probably can't see very well because the quality is not great, but the connections here are audio video. So he does have a lot of things around the house that are capable of recording. Now, it could be that it was just a setup for a TV. But keep in mind, his house was capable.
Come on, Dr. G. Come on, man. We both know that's not for no TV, man.
Of an incredibly complex wiring system. Whether or not he was monitoring everything and secretly recording it, he certainly had the capacity to. His house had the infrastructure for that type of thing. But then,
I think Dr. G is just trying to, like, play it safe here. Because, yeah, he knows. Come on, bro. Dr. G, bro. We know, man.
when we start looking at
me and you, we both know.
Nearby rooms, these are the kinds of massage tables I'm talking about. Let's look at the rest of this room so you can see what I'm talking about when I talk about how he fetishizes massage so deeply. So here's a shelf that's right above the massage table. Now, the shelf has all sorts of massage oils on it. It also has sexual lubricants on it. All of these things are meant to imply that there's going to be more to whatever goes on than just normal massage. This is how people...
Bro, can they not even have a regular cabinet? Like, why you gotta have this... like, come on, bro.
This is how predators try to groom people. They try to surround them with
like, everything they have just can't be normal. Like,
these things. Try to normalize it as much as they can so that people feel compelled to do the things that he wants them to do. Now, what I presume is the adjacent bathroom, just because of the way the pictures were taken. There's also various sex toys and drawers. There's costumes here. These costumes are very consistent with exactly what I was talking about earlier, with the fact that he's immature, that he's into this role play. Also wigs. And it's also cheap. That's one of the things that fascinates me about Jeffrey Epstein, is he must have been remarkably cheap, despite the fact that he owned a lot of very expensive things. So here's a good example of what's so strange about a guy like Jeffrey Epstein. So he has these gloves here, TKO brand, Tidal brand, some Everlast stuff. Nothing wrong with any of this. But as someone who has some experience in this, these are not the brands that if you were a multimillionaire or a billionaire that you'd probably buy. This is pretty cheap stuff. If you look further in the closet, which you can't see from here, he's actually got a full-on boxing robe, which is kind of ridiculous for somebody who clearly doesn't actually box. So he has very cheap things in these very
Dr. G calling him out, bro.
elaborate places.
Hey, I would pay to see a Dr. G Jeffrey Epstein boxing match, bro.
His art's probably expensive, but it goes to show all of this is a mask. All of this is for fantasy because he doesn't really care about these things. For a billionaire who really is into boxing, for example, for somebody who that would actually need this much equipment, this many pairs of shoes, these kinds of boxing gloves, they would be different brands. So it goes to show this is a man who lives in a fantasy world, and a cheap fantasy world at that. He doesn't really want to put in the effort to actually understand these things. He just wants to have a fantasy of, hey, I'm a boxer, I do these kinds of things. There's no reality to it. And I mentioned earlier, there was that picture of the person who appears to be passed out or something laying on a
That is so fucking weird, bruh. Just having this in your home? Like, how does your house feel comfortable?
bed or a couch. Same picture right here. The elaborate degree of wiring of Ethernet wires in his house, it goes to show that he very well could have been capable of recording every last
Yeah, that boy's recording you using the bathroom, bro. He was recording everything.
thing that went on in that house. Here's something else that shows his relationship with Clinton. If you see this picture, now he did not have this picture made.
The infamous one, bro.
This was done by an artist that was not hired by Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, this is a picture of Clinton wearing the Monica Lewinsky dress. And so the fact that he has this right when you walk in, and it shows this from a different angle, right when you walk in the place, it is right there looking at you. So when you go into his house,
That's insane, bro. That's insane. If that doesn't scream compromise, bro.
the first thing you're going to see is this Clinton painting staring right at you. There's so many artifacts and pictures related to Bill Clinton. I just think that he had so much affection for him at one point. Now, he lost some of his trust because through his emails, you can see that at one point he basically said that Clinton can lie too easily. He lied to him about something. He didn't like that. But other than that, I think they were about as close as he could be to anybody. Now, this is a different angle of his New York apartment that we've seen before.
What the I've seen this before, but what the hell? I mean, like, those paintings are beautiful, but bro, he's trying to, like, make it look like that's heaven. What in, bro?
Where he has this
I don't know what to say.
absolutely bizarre woman hanging from a rope in a wedding dress. There's no accounting for taste. He has an incredibly strange taste in art, which is exactly what you would expect from somebody this perverse and that doesn't understand people. So much, at least to me, of understanding art is understanding people. If you don't understand people, your art's going to suck. And it seems like what he likes, what he's drawn to, is bad art because I don't think he understands people very well. Now, here's an entire box of hard drives. So whether it was him or he had a tech guy, somebody knew what they were doing. You can't have this many hard drives with whatever kind of data on them and save these
Bro, Jeffrey Epstein's not sitting there doing all this shit. I promise you he's not.
without having somebody that can handle these things. Because keep this in mind. Let's say that this was for a security system in case somebody robbed him. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that was the case. He would have been keeping track of everything that happened there, and that's a lot of data to need. So what's been reported, or what was reported a long time ago, is that when the FBI got there, that tons of computers and hard drives were gone. This was just what was left over. So he certainly was capable of secretly recording things and keeping it on hard drives. This proves that. Here's another incredibly strange piece of art, whether it's something somebody gave to him, we don't know, but it's Alice in Wonderland fighting Little Red Riding Hood. It goes back to these strange fantasies that he has. He has these
Who's making this? Like, who's deadass putting the time into this?
immature, adolescent, ridiculous fantasies, and he just seems drawn to things like this. Now, I talked about the boxing thing earlier. There's his walkout gear for boxing, which is just ridiculous for somebody that clearly doesn't actually do it.
Bro,
Now, this I
that's
thought was
hilarious.
interesting. In his closet, he had police department outfits. I don't know enough about how the NYPD's outfits look to know whether or not this is actually like current outfits, or if these are costumes, or if these were something that were given to him. But I think it's interesting he has these costumes in his closet. Now, here is a book that was given to Jeffrey Epstein by one of his victims. It says, once upon a time, there was a clueless little girl. How do I look? Through the whole book, it goes through this story. These are the kinds of things that Maxwell would tell the victims to make for Jeffrey Epstein. She was trying to help create this fantasy that they loved him and they wanted to create for him. They would do artistic things for him. She was responsible for this. This was never voluntary by the people who did it, because there's letters where they say, I hope that what I gave for Jeffrey was good enough. I hope that's what you were looking for. These people didn't care about giving him these things, but this helped create the fantasy that she believed that he wanted, which probably was right. I think she really did understand Jeffrey Epstein. I think that she was really able to curate exactly what it is that he was looking for. While Ghislaine Maxwell didn't literally make this, she essentially did. She's the one that was responsible for this being created. Now, here's a letter to Ghislaine Maxwell that is exactly what I was talking about. I enjoyed writing Jeffrey a birthday letter and reminiscing about the past. However, if it is not what you had in mind, please feel free to edit it or tell me to write something else. Nothing was authentic. Maxwell was trying to create a fantasy for Epstein, and she did. But Maxwell definitely was trying to create some sort of specific fantasy for Epstein. Now, here's a sweatshirt from the IDF. I don't know if that was gifted to him. I don't know why he has that, but I know a lot.
Oh, boy. Oh, come on, man. That boy Mossad. That's, come on.
A lot of people have speculated that he had connection to Israel in this way. Things like this certainly are not going to dissuade people from believing that. Now, this is the full picture of something that I talked about in a different video. So this is this big blackboard of all of these words, power, deception, all of this. It just seems like this pseudo-intellectual nonsense.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, bro. This is just BS. Like, there's no way you write shit like this down, like, seriously. People that do that shit, they're performative cornballs.
But now I much better understand why he had this. And it is pseudo-intellectual nonsense. None of this is meaningful in any way. However, when you look behind this blackboard, there's something different. So the blackboard, you can move the blackboard, and behind it, obviously, it's a man looking at a woman. And that is, if nothing else, represents exactly who Jeffrey Epstein is. On the outside, he's this pseudo-intellectual who wants to appear smart, and that's what he wants everybody to see. But behind it, he just thinks of everything in terms of how he sees women and girls. All of it's nonsense, all of it's fake. It's all just fantasy. Now, here we are back with Clinton. These are pictures that hadn't previously been seen, but it shows what a close relationship he has with these people. Maxwell's in there too. Now, the way that I see Clinton is very different than the way that I see Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein's someone who wanted to create elaborate fantasy. And
bro is so compromised. If I was Bill Clinton, bro, like, you're not even Bill Clinton no more. You are a, like, pet, bro. You're a pet to them.
Needed that for his self-esteem. I think of Clinton as being very different. I think that in a lot of ways they have some overlapping issues, but I don't think that he cares about fantasy at all. I think that he wants what he wants, and he doesn't really care how people feel about it. He doesn't really care about the fantasy created around it all. So I think they were very, very different in that way, but I also think it seems like they were very close friends. Once again, look how close they are. They're basically interlocking arms, very real smiles here, squinting next to the eyes. You can see the way that the corners of their mouth are going up. These are two people that are really enjoying being together. These are two people who are very, very close. It's funny that this picture is right after the one of Clinton, because Virginia Giuffre had said that Maxwell is the one who would fly a helicopter around, that she was the one who brought Clinton to the island and so on and so forth. So it's interesting here to show her own enthusiasm for helicopters. I see pictures like this and really reflect on the fact that this man could have had whatever he wanted, done whatever he wanted, traveled wherever he wanted to go, and lived a fulfilling life. But he refused to do so because he was so obsessed with this fetishized lifestyle. It took over his life.
Yeah, bro. He could have literally had the perfect life that we all want. But I mean, from the start, who he was doing business with was always like the sketchy people. So I mean, he just kind of was always like that, I guess.
Prevented him from being able to enjoy his life because he was so perverse. And there's no sympathy for him, trust me. But it's when I see pictures like this, it's like, you know, when you have those kind of resources and you could live whatever life you want, and yet you insist on ruining your life and the lives of others because somehow you lack the components of what it takes to be a human, what it takes to be a normal human and connect with people in a healthy way. Now we're going to go through a few pictures of celebrities that we have. Obviously, here's Chris Tucker singing and having a good time. So here we are with Clinton again. There are so many pictures of Clinton at various times. They're not all from one trip.
Chris Tucker, bro, I need you to clarify what's up. Like, yeah.
We have. Obviously, here's Chris Tucker singing and having a good time. So here we are with Clinton again. There are so many pictures of Clinton at various times. They're not all from one trip. They're from
Why does he have Michael Jordan shirt on, bro?
various trips. Clearly, they spent a lot of time together. Another picture of Chris Tucker, probably from the same trip that we just saw. And here we have Clinton and Kevin Spacey. It looks like Clinton's being playful with Kevin Spacey, attacking his back or doing something to that effect. If you look at Kevin Spacey and Clinton here, these seem like people that are very comfortable with each other. This doesn't seem to be sort of an awkward.
Isn't Kevin Spacey like a weirdo? Didn't he get like exposed?
To get together with people that don't know each other. They all seem very comfortable around each other. Now, here's a picture of Clinton that absolutely puzzles me. I went to a UFC event last year, and when you take pictures with the fighters, this is basically what you do. You look at any picture of somebody with a pro fighter, and that's how they stand. I've never seen anybody stand like that in a picture that's not with someone who's in combat sports. So it's so peculiar to me that he's standing there with his fist up as though he's posing with a fighter. And why I assume that the person he's standing
Yeah, what is this, bro?
with is not actually someone in combat sports, is that she's not doing it also. Typically, that's what you'd see. You'd see two people standing next to each other, both making a fist like that. It's just an odd picture. But once again, Clinton just seems to be having the time of his life. Really genuinely looks very happy. And here's Clinton once again, looking as happy as he possibly could. If you look at the position of his arm relative to this person, she has her hands tucked between her legs. That's a defensive posture. She looks a little bit uncomfortable, despite the fact she's got her arm draped around him, putting her other hand here. If she was someone that felt closer to him, she might put her hand on his arm or something else. She looks quite uncomfortable. The way that he's holding his hand, I would associate with confidence. And the way that she's sitting, I would associate with discomfort. So she seems less comfortable in this situation. He seems very happy and content.
Yeah, it just reads uncomfortable. And who's this?
So it seems pretty obvious that Michael Jackson.
Whoa. Okay. I've never seen this. That was kind of weird. That kind of freaked me out a little bit there.
Looks uncomfortable in this picture. His hands are crossed in front of him. He's not looking at anybody. He's not smiling. There's no expression on his face. Whereas Clinton, he's got his
Yeah, this the face Michael made when he realized what flight he was really on.
hand on his shoulder. Anybody that would be around Michael Jackson, you would probably get the impression, yeah, you know what? He probably doesn't want to be touched right now. He probably doesn't like this. But Clinton is someone who likes to take control. So you see him with the hand on the shoulder. I actually see that as a somewhat aggressive maneuver. He's trying for this photo op, even though he probably knows that Michael Jackson wants nothing to do with it. Now, interestingly, if you look at the body posture of Richard Branson compared to Jeffrey Epstein, Branson is leaning in more. He is someone who feels a little bit closer, whereas Epstein is standing upright. He's got his arm next to him, but he's not doing anything that suggests that he actually feels any real affection towards Richard Branson. So at this point, I'm not sure how much Jeffrey Epstein actually likes Richard Branson. Now, here's obviously the magician David Copperfield with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's a lot of really positive feelings between the two of them. There looks clearly a lot of closeness right there. Now, I don't have any pictures of Jeffrey Epstein with David Copperfield, so I'm curious what the relationship is like there. But it certainly seems like Maxwell and David Copperfield had a very, very...
Was Maxwell and Epstein not like together?
very positive relationship and positive feelings towards each other. They seem to like each other quite a lot. Now, here's some pictures of more and more and more massage tables. So many massage tables, because everything in his life centered around these ridiculous fantasies. Now, I'm just going to skim through one of these documents because it's very representative of the other ones, but it gives us an idea of how Jeffrey Epstein operated. Basically, here's a victim that talks about when she was 16, she moved to LA. She was encouraged to meet with Jeffrey Epstein. He showed a lot of interest in her, offered to pay for her school, flew her all sorts of places. She had a luxury lifestyle. And then ultimately, he would become a perpetrator and ask her to do these things related to massage, that would engage in these fantasies. And a recurring theme is that people don't want to go into a lot of details. A lot of people that talk about this are very uncomfortable. They'll say, I'm in a relationship now. I don't want to talk about this. This is typical of what people who have been traumatized go through. They don't want to revisit these. They don't want to talk about this. They've put it behind them. And then they feel foolish for things that have happened. Even though these are people that were 16, 17 years old, these were kids. It doesn't change the fact that it's hard to have to revisit these things. It's hard to have to talk about what it is that they went through. And there's a lot of self-blame that goes into this, despite the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was an absolute predator in every sense of the word, and so was Maxwell. They tag teamed these people in terms of being predators in different ways, but both were equally as bad. So one thing I'm not going to cover is a bunch of thumbnail shots, which are little pictures that I think came off of CDs that Jeffrey Epstein had. There were compilations of all the pictures that he'd taken. Now, one thing is identified, there were a lot of illegal pictures that were removed. It said that over and over and over again. Interestingly, there were also a ton of pictures of Clinton. And some of the discs both had Clinton and had nude people on them. So there is a question that I have as to whether or not there's a reason that they are on the same disc, or whether or not it's just half of its pictures.
Oh, Dr. G, man. I get you're trying to be safe here with your words, but bro, come on, man.
With Clinton and half of its nude pictures that ultimately were removed. Either way, this continues to be a very, very bad look for Bill Clinton. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of what we observed today and more about the Epstein files. Now,
Debbie Vid. I mean, he still has something to say, so.
A big part of what I better understand now is that Jeffrey Epstein is someone who was just fetishized and obsessed with massage, that he had these really bizarre fantasies that he so desperately wanted to indulge in. Although I'm guessing that he never felt fully satisfied. No matter how hard Maxwell worked to give him what he wanted, it never was quite right for him, and I think he was impossible to please. And so I think his life was in the pursuit of having these weird fantasies, and nothing around him probably brought him much joy, that truly brought him much happiness, because nothing was quite like he wanted. The things he really wanted felt out of reach to him. Now, I know I didn't really talk much about President Trump here, because I know a lot of people have been looking forward to that, but this new document dump just didn't really have much of anything. Hopefully in future document dumps, if there's anything.
It's because Trump's in office, yeah. He's seen all the shit that was included with him. He was like, yeah, no, remove that instantaneously, please. But yeah, no, W vid. W Dr. G, if y'all enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that. All right, peace.